Welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. Today we get to talk to the car doctor. John Paul from AAA Northeast will be joining us shortly with some winter and holiday travel information. First, though, we take a look at the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, some sunshine through the clouds. It's 44 degrees right now. Not bad today. I think the clouds will win out, but it'll be mild, high around 50 degrees this afternoon. Chilly tonight under cloudy skies. Lows drop off into the mid-30s. Tomorrow, more clouds than sun. Cooler, too. High tomorrow, only around 40 degrees. That sets us up for a little bit of wintry weather here on Wednesday. Could see some snow showers, some snow flurries, no real accumulation. But highs Wednesday only in the mid-30s. It clears out for Thursday with partly sunny skies. Highs Thursday into the mid-30s. It looks like a warming trend heading into the later part of this week and into next weekend. But right now, partly sunny and 44 degrees here in Quincy. Checking out news for you today. Retiring Ward 5 Quincy City Councilor Chuck Phelan made his last appearance before the Zoning Board of Appeals last week as an elected official. Phelan spoke against a proposal to demolish a single-family home and build two three-story townhouses with a total of 4 units on Caruth Street. And after speaking, Phelan also acknowledged the members of the Zoning Board for their community service.
Thank you. I believe this is my last time before you.
Thanks for everything.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for volunteering the service you do for the city. Thank you very much for spending these nights. Believe me,
Yeah, you know.
You're always welcome.
So Phelan decided not to seek re-election this year, and retired Quincy Police Lieutenant Dan Minton ran unopposed for the position. He'll be sworn into office on January 8th. Quincy State Representative Taki Chan supports a bill filed by his colleague, State Representative Bruce Ayers of Quincy, that would establish an 11-member commission to study the possibility of creating a ferry service to Long Island off the coast of Quincy. Chan says a ferry service could immediately address the substance use addiction crisis that's plaguing the region.
The argument for ferry service makes sense. It's cheaper than trying to build probably a $200 million bridge at this point, and prices want to go up. And but I mean, there's also the condition of the properties there, and ferry service will provide equal benefit in terms of moving people back and forth from the Long Island medical facilities and substance abuse assistance facilities that the city wants to put in there, and then also keep it out of residential neighborhoods in Squantum. Now, I also bring up this point. As the city of Boston has been fighting this bridge issue with Quincy and building, talk about all this stuff, they've committed minimal amount of effort to address the issue in Boston themselves by trying to build another facility or facilities to address the issue locally. I find it rather astounding that the city of Boston has not tried to address the issue in the near term, instead bank on something that won't be constructed for probably a decade or two.
Boston Mayor Michelle Wu says that city is moving ahead with plans to rebuild the Long Island Bridge, but Quincy officials say they will continue to take legal action to stop a bridge from being built, citing concerns about dangerous traffic through Squantum and North Quincy. State Senator John Keenan of Quincy wants a study conducted on how to best spend the money that the state collects from casinos and sports betting venues to treat and prevent problem gambling. Governor Healy signed an amendment introduced by Keenan earmarking at least $500,000 to conduct an independent study of expenditures from the Public Health Trust Fund. The state collects $24 million a year from the 3 casinos and sports betting. Currently, Keenan says the majority of the money is being spent on gambling addiction prevention. Advocates say additional funding should be focused on more treatments for problem gamblers. Keenan hopes to get the study underway soon. A Hull man has been charged with crashing a stolen car into 2 unmarked Quincy police cruisers and then fleeing into Milton last week. 49-year-old Stephen Ford is charged with ramming the Chevy work van into those cruisers in Brewers Corner in West Quincy last Thursday afternoon and then fleeing the scene. Officers found his van crashed on Route 138 right near the Blue Hills ski area in Milton. And then a canine tracked down Ford to the ski rental building at the ski area. He was taken to Milton Hospital and then arraigned in Quincy District Court. Police say the van had been reported stolen in Brockton last Wednesday. NeighborWorks Housing Solutions here in Quincy says they raised over $265,000 at their recent Open Doors Changing Lives Gala. Hundreds of supporters gathered at Granite Links in Quincy last month for that fundraiser, featuring both live and silent auction items, raffle prizes, and some other chances to win prizes, too. NeighborWorks uses those funds to help support programs including their first-time homebuyer education programs, foreclosure prevention programs, home rehabilitation programs, financial coaching, and to help create new affordable housing developments in more than 75 communities in southeastern Massachusetts. And as our check of news for you today, coming up, we chat with John Paul, the card doctor from AAA Northeast. That's next.
I'm Bill O'Donnell, Register of Deeds for Norfolk County, wishing you and your family happy holidays. We are all aware that this is the season for giving, and the Registry of Deeds is proud and excited to once again partner with the United States Marine Corps Reserve's Toys for Tots drive. The creation of the Toys for Tots program came about when the wife of a Marine Corps officer wanted to donate a present, but could not find an organization to take it. Since then, more than 500 million Christmas presents have been donated thanks to people like you through this program. If you would like to donate an unwrapped gift, you can do so by dropping it off in the lobby of the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The Registry of Deeds building is located at 649 High Street in Dedham. I ask everyone to consider this worthwhile charity that the United States Marine Corps has put forth at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. Thank you very much, and again, happy holidays.
Hi, I'm Don Hart of the Hart Speech Foundation. We are a recognized 501c3 organization dedicated to providing advocacy and scholarship to the stuttering community. We provide funding for intensive speech therapy programs to allow severe stutterers to be able to achieve more fluent speech. Most health insurance companies do not provide coverage for this type of therapy, and it is our goal to ensure no one is denied this critical therapy. In recent years, we've realized that there are not enough clinicians that specialize in stuttering, and we have begun a scholarship for second-year graduate students to promote stuttering as a specialty. We also use our funds raised to support research into childhood stuttering and specifically why it is that some childhood stuttering resolves on its own while other children's stuttering does not. And would you please go to heartspeech.org, and that's heart, H-A-R-T, speech.org. Thank you very much.
When they learn something new and you can just see in their faces, it's such an incredible moment. It's those moments that are my favorite.
Welcome back. We are, of course, in the midst of the holiday season, and there's even a little winter weather in the forecast this week, so I thought it's a good time to bring in the car doctor, John Paul from AAA Northeast, to chat a little bit about travel and also preparing for the season ahead. So John is joining us virtually again today to talk to us. How are you, John? Good to see you.
Well, how are you, Joe? It's, a little bit of winter weather maybe on the way, which is a good reminder for people to think about getting their cars and maybe even themselves ready for wintertime.
I don't know if we're ever seriously ready, but at least start to think about it. Now, there were all kinds of predictions that the Thanksgiving travel this year will be the biggest and best and largest ever. Did that come true?
It did pretty well. I think it was just off a little bit, but we were looking at 55 million or so people traveling. That's a big number. That's just about the biggest number we saw before COVID, and we're only off just a little bit for that. 2019 was certainly the record, and that's what we're looking at again, even as we go towards Christmas time, which is a longer travel period, so the numbers sound a lot more impressive. But still, right now, it looks like the combination of the economy is doing okay. COVID is sort of taking a back seat for right now. People feel a little bit more confidence to travel. A lot of people traveling by air as well, which has stepped up a little bit too. But still, the most economical way to get around is put your family in your car and go travel.
Yeah, we saw that was very popular during the pandemic. A lot of closer kind of staycations. I guess, are folks still doing that, or are they venturing a little further away now?
Well, from what I've been told, and it's pretty anecdotal information, is there is still a certain amount of travel, but people are feeling a little bit more comfortable about traveling internationally, where prior to this year, tourist destinations, it could be up in Maine or the Lakes area of New Hampshire or Cape Cod. During the COVID years, those places were really busy. People were getting cottages for longer term rentals, a month or more. That has dropped off a little bit from what people have told me. The Chamber of Commerce tells me the same thing. But overall, numbers were still pretty strong, just not quite as strong in those weird little areas for things like cottage rentals and hotels, where people felt more comfortable, especially in cottages where they were staying for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and they go and they'd sanitize everything and feel like they were at home, only they weren't. So those numbers off a little bit, but yeah, and the trade-off is those same people have decided, well, I'm going to go to Disney, I'm going to go to Mexico, I'm going to go to the Dominican Republic, I'm going to go to Europe, I've always wanted to go, this is as good a time to go as any.
And in terms of AAA's, travel department, if you will, are you still doing both combination virtual and in-person meetings with clients, or is that completely in person now? What's the story with that?
No, it's a combination still, because it gives our travel agents a little more versatility and a little more availability to be able to do things virtually as well. But our offices are pretty much fully staffed now. Where it can be anything from travel to insurance to registry of motor vehicle services.
Right. For people who have maybe not traveled for the past 3 years, John, and are thinking of it now, what are some of the basic, pieces of advice or tips to give them when they're either traveling domestically or internationally?
It still makes a ton of sense to get to the, if you're traveling, get to the airports early. Still bring your sort of cleanliness kit, if you will. Bring, just to be extra safe, bring disinfectant. If you're in a very crowded place like an airport or some other public place, even though masking isn't required, certainly can't hurt to take a little bit more preventative measures about that. If you haven't, although Real ID keeps getting pushed off, and that's that little star symbol that's on your driver's license that lets you board airplanes and go into federal buildings, and I believe that's been pushed off to May of 2025 now. It still makes traveling a little bit easier, and also, if you are traveling, signing up for the pre-check to avoid some of the longer lines isn't a terrible idea to do that. I know I signed up for it a few years ago, and some airports I go into, the regular line and the pre-check line were literally the same. But there's other times I've traveled and the regular line has, 200 people in it, and the pre-check line has 2. And it is kind of nice to walk through security without having to take off your shoes and your belt and your jacket and all that sort of stuff. So those kind of things will make it easier eventually, unless things change again in the next year or two. Everybody's going to have to either travel with a passport or have pre-check. Makes sense if you can do it now. Get it done and get it over with. So
yeah, are we seeing kind of a migration away from paper
and I'm sorry,
tickets?
I confused pre-check with Real ID, by the way.
Yes.
Real ID, yeah. and pre-check is going through the airport quicker. So make sure Real ID is going to go into effect in May of 2025.
Okay. But I want to ask you are we seeing like a migration away from, paper tickets and, paper over to electronic when it comes to checking in and checking out?
Not if you ask my wife. She loves having a paper ticket.
Okay. So you can still get them, basically.
Most people now are using electronic tickets. They're saving it on their phone. If it doesn't show up in their wallet, they screenshot the ticket, the barcode.
Okay.
It makes it easier. I was a nervous traveler. I would do both because my fear always was I would show up at the airport and just then my phone would go dead and I'd be standing there with no ticket. So, but I've even gotten away from printing paper tickets, and I think a lot of people now, more seasoned travelers, haven't traveled with a paper ticket in ages. But if you can still print a paper ticket, keep in mind, though, some of the discount airlines, if you do get to the airport and you want a paper ticket, you're going to have to pay for it.
Oh, interesting.
So that's sort of the trick with some of the discounted airlines is the prices look good, and they are, providing you follow all the rules. But if you want to pick your own seat, it's going to be extra. If you're gonna carry on more than a personal item, which is generally a very small bag, you're going to pay extra. If you're going to check a full-size bag, you're going to pay extra. So all of those things will add up, and it'll kind of take away what seemed like a big savings with your ticket. But if you follow the rules, those discount airlines do a good job. And the idea that you can travel someplace that's 1,500 miles away for, in 3 or 3.5 hours for under $100, pretty good deal.
Yeah. With the TSA pre-check, John, I signed up for it 2 years ago. Is there a cost for that?
Yeah. There is a cost for it. Although we're starting to see some, looks like maybe some flexibility in that coming up in the future. We haven't quite seen all of that yet, but that may even be. I think I saw recently, and I could be completely dreaming about this, is that I think Staples was offering it now too. So you didn't have to go. You didn't have to go to a different office somewhere to go get it done. And I know in the future, AAA is looking to be able to have an outlet to do pre-check as well. Okay,
and it does expire too, I know. So you have to make sure you're up to date on that.
Yeah, and just like the same thing too. If you're thinking about traveling internationally, and you look at your passport and it's still good for another 6 months, in some locations that's considered expired.
Okay.
So just because you haven't hit the expiration date on your passport, check your airline and your destination and see whether that passport that has 90 days left on it or whatever the case is still considered valid or not.
Okay, that's a great point.
Some people end up getting a little bit stuck with that.
Yeah, then we know there was a big backlog and passport renewals. Has that alleviated some? Have you heard?
Yeah, from what I understand, it has, and some of it had to do with everything else. It was just not enough people to be able to get everything all processed. But it is a little bit complicated to even renew a passport. You need to follow the steps involved. Right now, go to your local post office, go there with all of your information, and let them tell you what to do. Because I know I looked at the directions and kind of went, well, I'll go do this and this. And they're like, no, don't cut the picture or whatever the case is.
Right.
Let them tell you what to do, and it'll go through the steps just the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, because if one thing is wrong, it's going to delay the whole process even further. So you want to get it right the first time. Yeah.
Absolutely. I went to right across the street from you over at the post office, and they were very nice and told me everything I needed to do. So.
Excellent. Well, as I mentioned, there is a little bit of winter weather in the forecast. Nothing major this week, but it's inevitable. Eventually, we will get some major snowstorms. So let's talk a little bit about winter car care and preparation for winter.
Yeah, it's really about preparation, and cars have gotten so much better over the years. They're so much more dependable, but still, they're literally rolling computers that take a lot of electrical power to keep them all running properly. The average life of a battery in New England is about 5 years. Now, some will last 6 or 7, some will only last 2 or 3. If your battery is more than 3 years old, have it tested, see if it's in good condition. If it's more than 5 years old, and I just got a question about this the other day. Somebody has a 2017 Subaru. They said the battery seems to be fine. They haven't had any problems with it. Should they replace it just because it's getting old? Maybe. Because without the battery working properly, you're never going to get the car going. Good preventative maintenance. Antifreeze today. Years ago, when I owned a garage, when I worked in a garage rather, it was not unusual to replace engine coolant every 2 years. Now we're seeing engine coolant last 10 years. Audi, I think, claims that their engine coolant can last up to the lifetime of the vehicle, which sounds incredible, but it can lose its effectiveness. So you want to make sure that if you haven't serviced your radiator cooling system in a while, have the antifreeze tested, make sure it's in good condition, that it is going to protect the car properly. A 50-50 mix of antifreeze and water will protect your engine to minus 34 degrees, which is plenty for around here, so that's good. Good clean engine oil is important. As oil gets contaminated, it gets thicker in the wintertime. It gets harder for the engine to turn over. And, you know, where we were talking about batteries earlier, summer heat is what actually hurts a battery. It's the winter time that stresses the battery because the engine needs to turn over longer. Sometimes it turns over slower, takes more energy. In fact, when the temperature gets to be about freezing, your battery loses about 30% of its capacity. And when the temperature dips to zero, when we do have those 1 or 2 0 days, it takes almost twice as much energy to crank the engine over at zero that it does on a 70-degree day. So that's how important the battery is. So you want to make sure that's good. And wiper blades suffering from summer heat. They get all dried out and cracking. Good set of wiper blades on there so you can see where you're going in the wintertime. And then also think about tires too, because a lot of people have all-season tires on their car, and all-season tires will work pretty well in most cases. But you have to keep in mind that the same all-season tire you buy in Quincy is exactly the same all-season tire you buy in Phoenix. So how can it possibly do a good job in an area that never has snow? Well, it's a compromise, and that's what it is. And if you're somebody who has to be out before the snow plows are out, consider a good set of winter tires. Winter tires will give you that traction you need. We used to say snow tires, but we call them winter tires now because the rubber compound is made in such a way that when the temperature gets cold, the tires still stay soft and flexible. Okay. And that's the important part, because when the temperatures drop, your tires turn into like little hard hockey pucks, and they'll tend to slide around a little bit more. Where a good winter tire, the rubber construction is better. And if you don't have the ability to keep 4 winter tires in your garage and, you know, take them off and put your summer tires on and swap back and forth, there's a new kind of tire, and they call it a all-weather tire, and it's a little bit of a compromise, but it actually does have a rating as a snow tire, but it's a tire you can run year-round. It has the mountain snowflake signal on the side of it. One manufacturer is Michelin. They call it their Cross Climate. It works a little bit better than all-season tires, maybe not quite as good as a dedicated winter tire, but it's a good compromise for somebody that doesn't have the ability to store a set of winter tires. And the other issue with winter tires, to make it easier, you might want to do winter tires, an extra set of wheels, and most of today's cars have tire pressure monitors in them. Yep. So an extra set of tire pressure monitors. So it becomes a pretty heavy expense. So maybe if you're considering replacing your tires before wintertime, look at some of these all-climate tires, these all-weather tires, as a good compromise for winter traction, plus good summertime driving.
Okay. And, years ago, you used to have to change your tire pressures between summer and winter. Is that something that you still have to be concerned about?
Not really. I mean, tire pressure is tire pressure. If you open up the driver's door of your car, there's a placard right there. It'll tell you how much air to put in the tires when the tires are cool. Why we used to say check tire pressure more often, for every 10-degree drop in temperature, you lose almost a pound of air pressure. So if the last time you checked your tires it was 70 degrees out, and all of a sudden we get a 30-degree day, you're going to lose 4 or 5 pounds of air. 4 or 5 pounds of air isn't a lot, but if that tire was supposed to have 33 pounds of air in it, you've been a little negligent on checking the tires, and maybe they're down to 28 pounds, you lose 5 pounds of air. Now all of a sudden you're down to 23 pounds. That's definitely going to be an underinflated tire that's going to waste fuel. It's not going to handle as well. It's going to wear out quicker, and it's going to turn on the tire pressure light. Usually it's that first cold snap day that I get all kinds of emails from people that say, my tire pressure light just came on. What should I do? And usually it's nothing more than wait till the afternoon when it gets a little warmer out. You'll probably find out it'll go off. But the thing to do is go someplace where they can check the tire pressure, inflate them to the proper amount, and you'll be good to go.
Okay. I know we always like to talk a little bit about the cost of fuel when we chat, John, and it seems to have stabilized recently. Any predictions for where it's going in the future?
Well, right now we're seeing crude oil at just about $74 a barrel. It is actually dropped off a little bit, and some of that seems to be a combination of economy, demand, and sort of a threat from OPEC Plus, which the OPEC nations plus Russia didn't seem to really materialize at all. So the projected cuts, way more complicated than I understand it, but it's like some of the oil producing companies are saying, well, if we cut production and prices go up, we're going to sell less, we're going to make less profit. So maybe it makes more sense to keep production up, let the prices sort of stabilize, and sell more and make more money that way. So it's kind of a weird economic thing that's going on. But for us right now, the average price of gasoline in Massachusetts is $3.37 a gallon. It's down 3 cents from last week. It's down 15 cents from a month ago, and it's down 30 cents from last year. So you're saving a little bit of money no matter how you look at it. If we continue to see this trend as we go towards the first year, which looks like right now, it looks like the futures prices are sort of heading in that general direction. The futures prices for crude oil now are just around $70 a barrel. So that can obviously vary quite a bit over the next month or so. But that all signals maybe a little bit lower prices as we come into the future.
Finally, John, do you think the cost of new cars is going to come down in the future? Because what do they average now, like $40,000?
The average price of a new car now is up almost to $50,000.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm old enough, I guess, where I remember luxury tax kicked in at $32,000. So these cars are way above what we consider a luxury car price. And electric cars, which are gaining popularity to some extent, are even more. So we're seeing some very expensive prices. And I think at some point, consumers are just going to say, look, I can't afford this anymore. It's not worth spending $50,000 or $60,000 to get a nice car to go to the grocery store. So at some point, technology, manufacturing, and all of those things combined together have caused prices to go up. Also, shortage of supply. When COVID first happened, vehicle manufacturers stopped making cars. They just weren't making as many. No one expected that the car business was going to be good, and it was. The other thing that happened was the rental companies, which typically buy a lot of brand new cars, stopped buying cars. Well, what happened is they stopped buying cars. Their old cars, which would normally go into the used car market, never happened.
Right.
So that caused used car prices to go up. No one really expected to see this coming. It was just like the building industry. No one ever expected, a sheet of plywood to cost $50 a sheet.
Right.
In fact, it did. So I think eventually supply of cars will get better. The recent automotive strike didn't help at all. But I think over time, and I guess I've been saying this for more than a year now, that prices should start to stabilize, inventory should come up, and you'll be able to get to the point where you can go into your local car dealership and look at the MSRP and work down from that number. Right now, there are still some very popular cars where you go in and you look at the suggested list price and you're negotiating up from that number to get the car, which to me just sounds crazy.
Yep. Got to go, but always a pleasure to talk to you, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. Great being on with you. Take care. Have a good holiday.
Thank you. The same to you. Just enough time to check the forecast for the rest of the day today. To be quiet with clouds this afternoon. Temperatures are right around 50 degrees, down to the mid-30s this evening. A little cooler tomorrow, still dry. Wednesday is the trouble spot with the chance for snow showers and flurries, and back to partly cloudy, quiet conditions here on Thursday. Thanks again to John Paul, the Car Doctor, for joining us today. Thank you to our crew. Thank you for watching. Friday, the folks from the new Gather Health here in Quincy will be joining us. Meantime, head to our website, qatv.org. All of our latest programs are there. News and information, video on demand, live streaming, and more. For all of us at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great week.